Hey guys, today you're going to start your last step of solving equations. Your last new step to solving equations. You're finally learning that third step here, and it's called collect x's on the same side. Okay, so there's 4 steps when you collect x's on one side. And you'll have to bear with me with my handwriting here. I'll try the best I can. Okay, so the first step is you only do this, collect x's on both sides of the equation, when x's are on both sides of an equation. Okay, you only do this when x's are on both sides of the equation. Okay, then the second step, and I'll write this in red because it's very important, you need to find the smaller term. Find the smaller term. Okay? If you choose to move the bigger term, it's going to end up giving you fits. So always find the side with the smaller term on it to start working with first. Okay, third thing. Add the term to each side if it is negative. Okay, add the term to each side if it is negative. Okay, one more time, add the term to each side if it is negative. Okay, and then the last step, what color do we want? Let's do purple. Okay, subtract the term if it is positive. Okay, so this is treated just like a normal equation. Okay, so make sure you have these 4 steps. You're going to make sure that there's variables on both sides of the equation, find the smaller term, and then if it's positive, subtract it, and if it's negative, add it. Okay, so there's 2 different types of these type of equations. Okay, there's ones where you're going to have to combine like terms on both sides before you do anything, and then there's another type where you don't have to do that. Okay, so you'll notice on this one, where you have collect x's on both sides, you'll notice that there's only one set of variables on both sides. Okay, you can't really combine any like terms. Okay, so on this side, you just have to find the smallest one. In this case, that would be this negative 4x. It's smaller than 7x. And then you would add that term to both sides. Okay, so in this type, it's really easy. Okay, it's the same thing with this equation below. You got to find the smallest one. 0.3x is smaller than 0.7x. So we're going to choose this guy. Okay, and then if it's positive, you subtract that term on each side. Okay, so you subtract on both sides. Now, there are other types where you have to combine like terms on both sides. It's a little bit different. Okay, combining like terms, you're just putting things together that are the same, but you'll notice that there aren't variables on both sides. So combining like terms, you're just putting the x's on the same side together. Okay, that doesn't mean you move them over here. That's not what we're doing. Okay, that only happens when there are variables on both sides. That has to happen. Otherwise, you're just combining what you have. Okay, so let's try our first example here. And it says 7x minus 6 equals negative 4x plus 5. And our first step is to make sure that there are variables on both sides. And there most definitely are. There's 7x over here and negative 4x over here. And then we want to figure out, well, which one's smaller? Okay, well, 7x is greater than negative 4x. Okay, so we want to choose this negative 4x to work with. Okay, so since it's negative, we want to undo that subtraction with addition on both sides. Okay, so add 4x on both sides. Those 4's cancel. And then you have 11x minus 6 equals 15. Okay, now you're to that two-step equation that we always do. Okay, then you undo subtraction with addition and get 11x equals 21. And then go ahead and undo the multiplication with division on both sides and get our final solution of x equals 21 over 11. Okay, so you're not learning anything really very new. You're just trying to get all the x's on the same side. They need to be together. Okay, let's try and measure. Okay, so our first step is to try to see if there are x's on both sides. Okay, and on this side, there aren't any x's. Okay, so that means we're supposed to combine like terms here, here, and combine our integers. We'll combine these as well. Okay, so let's combine our x's. We have our 7 equals over here, and we have negative 3x's minus 8x's. You're getting further away from 0, so you would have negative 11x's. And then you have your positive 14 and your positive 21. And if you add those together, you would get 35. Okay, so now you're to your two-step equation again, and you want to undo addition with subtraction. And our 7 minus 35, if you type that in your calculator, you'd get negative 28, and that equals negative 11x. And then, of course, our last step, like we normally would do, is to undo that multiplication with division. And our 11's cancel out. And okay, let's try a few more. Okay, on this one, we need to make sure that there are x's on both sides. And there definitely are. Okay, and then you have to find the smallest one. Okay, well, 0.3x is smaller than 0.7x, so we want to move this guy over here to be with his buddy. Okay, so since we have addition, we're going to undo that with subtraction. Do that on both sides. Those 0.3x's cancel. And then we have 0.5 left over here, and if you have 0.7x and subtract 0.3x, you have 0.4x and minus 0.3. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this. We have a two-step equation. We want to undo subtraction with addition. And so we have 0.8 equals 0.4x. Okay, then we want to divide that out. Divide by 0.4 on both sides. And you end up, if you type that into your calculator, you would get x equals 2. Okay, so always make sure that you have variables on both sides if you're going to do it that way. Okay, now this example, you don't have variables on both sides, so you're just going to combine like terms. So you need to add the 7x and the 2x, and that gives you 9x plus 3. You'll also notice on this side, we can combine these guys and get 13 plus 8, or 21. Okay, then you simply have a two-step equation where you can undo addition with subtraction and get 18 equals 9x. And then, of course, we can go ahead and solve on both sides and get x equals 2. Okay, so there's small differences in the equations, but they make a big difference in how you solve them. Okay, so make sure that you are understanding that that's how it's done. Okay, so before we move on to this guy, I've got a quick joke for you. Hey, here's the joke. What do you call a dentist in the Army? Think about it. Think about it. A drill sergeant. You like it. Okay, let's do one more example, and then we'll call it quits. Okay, so on this one, you happen to have variables on both sides, but you also need to combine like terms, and that's always our step that we need to take. So we have variables here, here, and here. We need to combine them before we do anything. Okay, so if we have 4x's and we add 3x's, that will give you 7x. And tack on your -5, and that equals 2x minus 12. Okay, so now we're to that situation where you are moving the variables from side to side. Okay, so we have to pick the smaller one, which of course is our 2x here. And we have to, since that's positive, we want to subtract it out. And that gives us 5x minus 5 equals -12. Then we solve this two-step like we normally would. Undo subtraction with addition. That gives us 5x equals 7. Be careful with this -12 plus 5. Or that's -7, my bad. I need to be careful with it. Okay, and then go ahead and divide each side by the number in front of your variable or your coefficient. Okay, so those are the steps of solving an equation. Okay, there's 5 different steps. I would like you to try this guy by yourself, and I'll come around and stamp it when you're done. Peace.